The worst thing about sleeping in a car isn't the cold. At 3 a.m, the car windows were completely fogged up while he tried to sleep in the back seat without attracting attention. Every time a car passed nearby, he opened his eyes immediately. And whenever he heard footsteps close to the vehicle, he pretended he was only resting for a moment, because the real fear wasn't the police, and it wasn't hunger. It was being seen by someone who knew him, and realizing his life had completely fallen apart. Less than a year earlier, he had been living a normal life with his family, going to university during the day, then spending long nights playing video games, trying to escape from reality. He wasn't lazy the way his father believed. He was just lost. His entire life had been built around pressure. His father believed a man's value came from work, success, and money. Meanwhile, he lived with the constant feeling that everyone else was moving forward while he remained stuck. He studied a major he never chose for himself. His father chose it years ago, and every day he felt more disconnected from the life he was living. Long lectures, pressure, constant comparisons, and disappointed looks waiting for him at home. After graduation, the real problem began. He started searching for jobs, but deep inside him there was something bigger than money driving him. He wanted a high salary, a salary big enough to stand in front of his father and say, "I'm better than you." That was why he rejected ordinary jobs, as if accepting them meant admitting failure. Months passed quickly. His friends started working. Some got married. Others slowly began building stable lives. Meanwhile, he was still sitting in the same room, in front of the same screen, convincing himself that his big opportunity simply hadn't arrived yet. But the tension inside the apartment grew worse every day, until that rainy night. His father came home exhausted from work and found him sitting in front of the computer as usual. He stood behind him silently for a few moments before saying, "You don't want to live, you just want to escape." At first he ignored him, but his father continued, "All the years I spent on you, wasted." Something inside him broke at that moment. For the first time in years, he didn't stay quiet. The argument exploded. Years of frustration and anger came out all at once. Old accusations, shouting, and words neither of them had ever dared to say before. Then his father said the sentence that changed everything. "If you think you're a man, leave, and prove it." Silence filled the room. Then he stood up, grabbed a small bag, his car keys, and walked out without looking back. The car wasn't even fully his. It was still financed, and his father made it clear before he left that he wouldn't pay the next installment. And he knew one thing for certain. If he lost the car, he would lose everything. That night, he parked near a 24-hour gas station. He sat in the front seat for hours without moving. People walked in and out of the station normally, while he felt like he had disappeared from the world completely. At 3 a.m, the cold began creeping through the windows. He tried to sleep. He couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard his father's voice, "Prove you're a man." The next morning, he started looking for any job he could find. At first, he still had pride. He believed the situation was temporary and that he would quickly find a respectable job. But reality was far harsher than he imagined. Job interviews ending in rejection. Managers looking at him as if he wasn't ready. Simple questions he couldn't answer confidently. As the days passed, he began learning things he never imagined he would need to know. He learned where to park the car so police wouldn't force him to leave. At first, he parked near public parks, but after a few nights, security guards started noticing him. Eventually, he moved to different places every night, sometimes near gas stations, sometimes behind supermarkets, and sometimes in dark parking lots near factories. He constantly felt like he was hiding from something. He learned which bathrooms stayed open late. He learned how to change clothes inside the car without being seen. And he learned how to lie whenever someone asked where he lived. But the hardest part wasn't hunger or cold or exhaustion. It was shame. Every morning he watched people leave their homes on the way to work while he fixed his hair using the car mirror before another interview. One day, he entered a cafe just to charge his phone for a while. He sat quietly in the corner and accidentally fell asleep. He woke up hearing a little girl whisper to her mother, "Mom, is that man okay?" He opened his eyes immediately and felt humiliation hit him harder than hunger ever had. He grabbed his things and left without looking back. That night, he sat inside the car for hours without turning anything on, just staring silently at the city. Weeks later, his money started running out, so he accepted jobs he once looked down on, loading boxes in warehouses, cleaning storage rooms, delivering orders for endless hours. Every night he returned exhausted beyond words. His hands became rough, his back constantly hurt. Sometimes he slept in the car wearing his work clothes because he no longer had the energy to change. One night while working inside a warehouse, he overheard another worker say, "A man begins where his comfort ends." The sentence stayed in his head all night. Soon after, the car began making strange noises. At first he ignored it, but every night the sound became louder. He finally visited a mechanic. After a few minutes, the mechanic looked at him seriously and said, "If you don't fix this now, the engine won't last long." The repair cost more money than he had. He walked out of the garage feeling like the ground itself had become heavier, because the car wasn't just a car, it was his home, the last thing he still owned. 2 days later, he received a message from the financing company. If the payment wasn't made within a week, the car would be repossessed. He read the message several times, then slowly locked his phone. For the first time since leaving home, he felt real fear. Not fear of failure, fear of having nowhere left to sleep. He started working insane hours, morning delivery shifts, warehouse work at night, then driving around for hours so he wouldn't sleep in the same place twice. Sometimes he slept less than 3 hours. One rainy night, after working more than 18 hours straight, exhaustion finally caught up to him while driving. Just 1 second of sleep. That was enough. The car drifted slightly and slammed against the curb. His heart nearly stopped. He stepped outside into the rain, inspecting the car with shaking hands. He didn't care about himself. He just kept whispering, "Not now. Please, not now." He sat back inside, gripping the steering wheel in silence. Then he broke down, not dramatically, just real exhaustion, the kind that happens when someone realizes life truly does not care how much pain they're in. At the warehouse, there was an older man named Victor, quiet, calm, worked there for years. Victor noticed he spent every break watching trading videos, finance channels, and market analysis. One night, Victor asked, "Do you actually want success, or do you just want revenge on your old life?" He laughed awkwardly, but didn't answer, because he knew the man was right. Victor slowly began talking to him almost every night, not about getting rich fast, but about discipline, patience, and how desperate people destroy themselves trying to recover lost years too quickly. For the first time in years, he felt like someone saw him as a person capable of becoming something, not a failure. Months later, he finally saved a small amount of money and convinced himself this was his chance. He entered a reckless trade after spending an entire night watching charts and analysis videos. Within days, he lost everything. Every hour he worked, every painful shift, every bit of hope he had slowly built, gone inside a glowing screen within minutes. He sat inside the car, staring at the steering wheel for a long time. No anger, no screaming, just emptiness. Then his phone vibrated, a message from his mother. "Your father still enters your old room every day." He stared at the message silently, and for the first time since leaving home, he missed home. That night, he opened the old photo gallery on his phone. University pictures, old family memories, even a photo of his father helping him the day he first got the car. He stared at it for a long time before slowly locking the phone. Months passed, then an entire year, and little by little he changed. He didn't become a millionaire, and his life didn't turn into a perfect movie, but he became different, calmer, more patient, less angry. He kept working, studied the market seriously, and slowly improved his situation. He repaired the car, rented a tiny room, and finally felt like life was moving forward again, even if slowly. And over time, he realized something important. He never truly hated his father. He hated the feeling of never being enough. About 3 years later, he returned to the neighborhood where he grew up. Same street, same building, but this time he no longer felt trapped. He parked the car and stared at the old balcony for a long moment before walking upstairs. When his father opened the door, he looked older than he remembered. The two stood there silently for a few seconds. Then his father quietly said, "You look tired." He smiled slightly. "I was." That night they sat together for the first time without shouting. Just silence between two men who had wasted years misunderstanding each other. Before leaving, his father quietly said, "I thought pressure would make you stronger." He looked at him for a moment before replying, "And I thought money would finally make me feel enough."